great to see everyone here. I can't believe it's already been a whole year since we were last here. It's pretty amazing to think how quickly a year goes by. For those of you that don't know, this is actually 2024 marks the third decade of streaming media technology. Yeah. Well, there's some old people of us here in the room, right? But this actually started technology-wise in 1994. Believe it or not. If you go to my blog, you can see the history of streaming and how it started in 1994 with the tech. The industry really came about in, I'll call it 97. So the industry is almost 30 years old itself. It's absolutely amazing how much video consumption is taking place. I'm going to be here talking for about the next 25 minutes, then we're going to have a keynote here with Phil. In that time frame, call it an hour, if you look up statistics online, about 1 billion videos will have been played around the world in 1 hour that you're in this room right now. That is how much video consumption we're talking about today. I'm going to go through lay of the land here, the show. I'm going to talk about where everything is in the setup. I'd like to thank the NEB for helping. You know, this says Streaming Summit by Dan Rayburn, so it has my name on it. But there's a lot of people behind the scenes that make this all happen at the NEB. For those that came last year, we were on the 3rd floor. It's great to be on the 1st floor today. We sold about 200 additional tickets this year compared to last year, so this continues to grow. We have the new AI track. Quick show of hands in the room. You know, rule number 1 when you're talking, know your audience. So I'd like to know who's in the room. Quick show of hands, how many people is this your first streaming summit? Wow, that is awesome. So that's about 70% of the room. Good. So I'm going to change what I say here a little bit. So one of the first things to highlight is all the content that we have. Right now you're in track A. Right behind you is track B. Behind that is track C, which is the AI track this year. So everything is right here in the hallway. All the sessions are being recorded thanks to Mobion. It's 100% free. If you go to nabstreamingsummit.com, that's where the archives will be. It takes about a week. We'll have everything up. Thanks to Kaltura as well, who gives us the free platform. If you're looking for the schedule, go to nabshow.com/streaming. The NAB website is complex, let's put it that way. It's hard to find content, so just go to nabshow.com/streaming. That'll give you the complete lineup. Outside of every session room, you will see on the projectors, on the digital screens, you'll see the lineup for today in every single room there. It does not list every speaker in every session. The people outside at the door who are scanning badges have a printout. You can take a look at it. They'll help you find the best session to go to. A couple other things that I want to highlight before I get into some industry trends here. Tonight, we have the happy hour. For those that don't know, it is on the 3rd floor, outside on the balcony. So we have a lot of great sponsors to thank. Over 30 sponsors here who are supporting the show this year. These are the happy hour sponsors as well. Happy hour last year had over 600 attendees in 90 minutes. So come have some drinks, network. Also just note for any of your colleagues, the happy hour is open to anybody at the NEB show that's interested in streaming. You don't have to have a Streaming Summit only pass. So just go up the escalator, 3rd floor, it's outside in the balcony. We'll have plenty of people to help you find your way. But 90 minutes, 5 o'clock to 6:30. One of the things I'm always trying to think about when I plan this show is personalization. Right? You're spending money to be here. You should have a good experience. You should have a bespoke experience. For those of you that paid for a ticket, you got a personal email from me after you purchased that ticket. That wasn't a form letter. Right? I sent every single person. Some of you called me because I said, call me if you have any questions. And you did. And I thank you for that, because what that also gave me was feedback of the sessions you want to see. What do you go into? One of the things you'll notice at my show is no 7 people on a panel up here. Cramming 7 people into a panel in 40 minutes, why do you do that? Because it pads your speaker lineup on the website. That's it. Is that good for attendees? No. So there's none of that here at the show. You'll also notice a lot of case studies, one-on-one fireside chats like I'm going to have today, because I really want to focus on practical information. You are here because you have business problems to solve today. None of my sessions are about the future of AI, video, tech, streaming, metaverse, blockchain. It's garbage. It's absolute garbage. We have to focus on solving problems today, doing more with less. Every single company out there has done layoffs over the last 18 months. Why? Because they're trying to solve problems today. Productivity and profitability, it's all that matters. So I'm always thinking about the sessions. I'm always thinking about the experience for you all. Somebody asked me earlier, why do all the doorstops have my name on them? It's a good question, because I bring my own. Because there's nothing more annoying, as we've just heard for some reason in this door, people leaving the session room, right, in the middle, and they're not having door stops at the venue to keep the doors from slamming. That's the level of attention to detail I think people should do when they're planning conferences. So I'm constantly trying to think about the user experience for you all. What that means is I'd like feedback. I'd like comments at any time, what you want to see, what you want to hear, the type of content you want to see, speakers. I'd love to hear all of that. So 3 tracks today, track A, track B, they're not specific. Some are business, some are technical, some are fireside chats, case studies. AI track, why did I do an AI track this year? Well, AI is important. However, what's important is actually seeing the practical use cases for AI today and what can come. So all the AI demos are not like, here's a demo from 10 years from now. Can you do me a favor? Can you go outside and block that door so nobody tries to come in? Thank you. So the AI track is all about practical applications today. A lot of what you're going to be seeing there is based on encoding, right? Compressing bit rates, compressing video, lower bit rates, higher quality video. So big thing to remember about AI for our industry. AI is not a product. AI is not a service. AI is a technology, and it's part of a larger platform. For any of the vendors on the show floor running around saying they're selling AI, you are wrong. You can't buy AI. You can buy a platform that has AI functionality in it. So it's very important to remember what AI is. So I will continue to add in the program every year additional things relevant to our industry, but they actually have to be relevant. Right? The most important thing is we have to be realistic of what's going on in the market. For those who are OGs in the room here, you remember P2P was supposed to revolutionize our industry. Then it was multicasting. Right? That was supposed to be it. Then Apple was going to come out with an all-in-one Apple TV. It never happened. Right? Then we heard blockchain. We heard a lot of things tied to in terms of what was going to happen with Edge. Now Edge is working with Edge Compute, but not really tied to video as much. Now you're hearing about Apple's creating a robot. Someone actually reported they wanted to do your dishes. Right? Okay, cool. But problem with all of those things is that is not helping solve business today, solve business problems. So that is the goal of the content at the show. If you have questions at any time, I'm always available. There are a lot of people who say to me all the time, I didn't want to stop and talk to you. I didn't want to interrupt you. You were talking. Please do so. That is why I'm here. This is not my show. This is yours. My job here is to connect you with others, help link you up with others. I'm available at all times to do that. My phone will be answered at all times. So if you have a question at any time, please do reach out. And of course, now that doesn't want to work. Can you try and go forward? Thank you. So one of the things I want to do here, I made the offer to give out free tickets to anyone who recently lost their job or got laid off. 60 people took free tickets who are here at the show. There has not been a time in the industry over the last, I'll call it 15 years, that I've seen like this where so many qualified people are out of work. SVP level, VP level, Paramount, WWE, Disney, Comcast, you guys name it, you know it. People are looking for work. So what I decided to do for the last session tomorrow, I'm going to do a talk about what it actually takes to advance your career, to get a new job, to think about how you excel in the industry that you're in. Far too many of you on LinkedIn are starting off with a profile of results-driven executive. Wrong. Results-driven. We're all results-driven. Our results could stink. You didn't even say positive results-driven. So I'm going to go through on LinkedIn what you should say, what you shouldn't say, how to communicate with clarity, consistency, and candor, the types of jobs you should be targeting, what skills you actually have to have. And what I'm going to do is default to a lot of information that we've already heard directly from those who are hiring. I did a podcast with the CTO and Chief Product Officer at Warner Bros. Discovery. The last question I asked them was, who are the type of people you hiring? What type of culture are you building here? Now, these are people who are hiring for engineering and technical jobs. You know what skill sets they wanted you to have? Accountability, communication, the ability to work with others. They didn't highlight engineering. Soft skills. This is what companies are looking for. So I'm going to go through that. I'm going to highlight what you really need to do as far as your resume, as far as LinkedIn, how you should connect, how you should consume news. This is open to everybody at the NEB show. So anybody who is looking for a job, wants to excel, come to that session. That's my phone number. I'm always available. So people ask all the time, Dan, are you crazy? Why are you taking calls from people all the time free? Because this is what I do, okay? My job is one thing and one thing only, to inform, educate, and empower others. That's it. So I will take calls for free all the time. I take them from content owners, broadcasters, sports leagues, vendors, Congress, Senate, who are working on laws. I take them from companies all over the world. I've been doing that for 20 years. Right? That's what people should be doing in the industry. If you're an analyst in the industry, you should make yourself available. The fact that many analysts, most analysts, don't even make their email available, let their phone available. Why? Because they don't want to talk to you unless you're paying them. That's not my motto. That's not why I do this. So you have a question at any time, I am happy to answer it. During the show, Paul will have my phone. I'm just reading some notes, but normally won't have it on me. When I'm on stage, he'll answer it. Text him. We'll get you whatever you need. The other thing I'm finding out this morning is for any of the exhibitors here who also have access to the streaming summit, I'm learning you actually have to pick up 2 passes. Sorry about that, I wasn't aware. So if you picked up an exhibitor badge, it will not get you in here. Go to the conference registration and pick up your conference badge as well. You have to have 2 badges. I'll make sure the NEB knows that that needs to be consolidated next year. Next slide, please. Okay, so what I'm going to go through this morning, Paul, here. A couple things I wanted to go through as far as the state of the industry and what we're seeing. A lot of the keynotes I've seen from a lot of people, different segments of the market over the years, even in the last year, if you think of all the different shows out there, they're talking about FAST, and they're talking about, according to Nielsen, video's growing, and like, we're the video show. We all know video's growing. We all know there's consumption. We all know people like more video. That is completely useless. That is not giving us any business information. So let's start with the financial side of what's taking place in the market. Balance sheets is what drives our industry. If you think it's anything else, sorry, but you're wrong. It's balance sheets. It's profit and loss. So everyone is resetting the bar in CapEx and OpEx. We've seen that over the last 18 months. Getting to cash flow, initial goal. Getting to profitability, second goal. Cash flow and profitability are not the same thing. But getting to cash flow is key. Profitability, that's like the gold standard. That's what you want to get to. That's why we've seen so many layoffs over the last 18 months. During COVID, far too many companies hired too many people, right, which they should not have done. They didn't have enough business to support that. They thought what we saw during COVID with video consumption was the new norm. Paul, can you do me a favor and have them stop having the door shut nonstop? Thank you. So this is all about finances. That is the key. Even Netflix, which had $6.2 billion of free cash flow last year, did 2 rounds of layoffs. 6.92 billion. Think about that. It's incredible. It's the only D2C service that was profitable for the entire year. Even they did it. What does that tell you? It tells you everyone's doing more with less. Right? We have to be more proficient in terms of what we're working with and how we're working with capital. Layoffs, why do they happen in November and December? Because companies are setting budget for the next year. So why are we still seeing them in February and March of this year? Well, they set the budgets, but then when they get end of year numbers and they realize it didn't grow the way they thought, now they have to reset the bar again. We're still going to go through this for the rest of this year. Right? This is going to happen. There's going to continue to be more layoffs. If you have mergers between companies, we obviously have a lot of content companies that potentially, could merge that you've heard of in the news. If any of those happen, you're going to have crossover. You're going to have additional layoffs. So mergers mean layoffs. So with more of those potentially coming, we're going to have more of that in the industry. Money is hard to get. If you're not tracking and following what's happening with money in our market, here's what you need to know. 3.5 years ago, company went out to get money right? They were paying an interest rate of about 1% on average. We called it free money. It's literally free. In some cases, it was. Today, it averages 13 to 15%. 13 to 15%. That means many companies can't even pay the interest every year. So what are they doing? They're not getting money. VideoAmp raised, I believe it was $150 million, their last round. That was a 15% coupon. 15%. Fubo, as you can see in the example here, right, Fubo exchanged convertible senior secured notes. So they pushed out their debt, which was good. They reduced some of their debt, but look at what they're paying in interest, 7.5 to 10%. That's a big number from 1%. And that's why there's a lot of vendors in particular in the market who aren't necessarily losing a lot of money every year, but they don't have a lot of money in the bank. Without that money in the bank, what can they do? Not much. They can't acquire anyone. They can't make any acquisitions that transform their business or add a lot of top-line revenue growth because they don't have the capital to do it. With the Fed doing 11 raises already, yes, we know at some point there's going to be a reduction in rates, but those rates that people thought were going to come in Q2, it's not happening. So we're going to have to go through this for another 12, 14, 16 months before money starts flowing again. And that impacts all of you, impacts all of us. It impacts how much money companies have to spend in marketing and in hiring. So keep an eye on all of this. If you don't understand all this, you don't track all this, I've already done it for you. Follow me on LinkedIn. That's all you need to do. As I mentioned, you also have some other segments of our global economy. As you well know, they're having some issues right now. Right? Wage growth has stalled. What people are putting on credit cards. All these data points tie into the streaming industry. If you don't think they do, we're talking business today. We're not talking streaming. Right? It impacts every industry out there. So it's very important you keep an eye on what's going on. We have points in the market to show us there's going to be constraints. Now, I'm not up here to talk doom and gloom. Right? That's not the goal. But my goal is reality. I don't live in fantasy land like most people do. Most people pushing out content. You know, this is reality. You need to know the actual numbers and data to make the best informed decisions at your business or for you and your family personally, of where you're going to do and how you're going to advance in your career. It's very important. We're starting to see some positive signs already. That's definitely good. We've already seen a lot of vendors in particular refocus who they are and what they do. How do you price, package, productize, market, and sell a service? You better be good at that. If you're trying to be in every vertical, you know, oh, we offer a free solution, we offer a $20 a month solution, well, we also offer enterprise, you're losing. Look at companies who are already doing that. They're struggling to grow. Because what's your core focus? Nobody really knows. Focus is key. The good thing is, because of what companies had to do with restructuring and laying people off, they had to refocus their product portfolio. Some vendors have not done a great job of that, and they need to still fix that. But a lot of them already have. So we've gotten through the toughest point right now. As long as we have interest rates come down, companies can start getting money again, we will start growing again. Companies will start hiring again. So that's a good thing for everybody. Educate yourself on P&L, understand these numbers, read the news that matters, understand what the changes are taking place in the market. Just in the last few months, Edgio, VideoAmp, Nielsen, Harmonic, and Vimeo all replaced their CEOs. When a CEO is replaced, what happens? Things change at the company. Many times they change their management teams. This morning I came up with, looking through as quickly as I could, just the vendors. So not D2C content owners, streamers, just the vendors alone have swapped out in the last 20 months more than 300 CEOs, CTOs, CROs, CMOs. 300. That's just the ones I could count. Right? It means change. Change is inevitable. Progress is optional. You have to understand that. So what you want to do, and the way to understand this, listen to the people who have the experience, who are tracking this and following this all day long. That is super key. So 2 or 3 more slides here. We're going to bring Phil up. I go through this every year. The only thing that matters is facts, not opinions. Facts is all that matters. I cannot believe how many people are sharing inaccurate information on LinkedIn every day without checking the source, and then resharing it with others. Now, when a company is public and they're pushing out every quarter how many subscribers they have, or their profit and loss, this isn't an opinion. This is a fact. Numbers don't lie. It's incredible how often this happens every day. So I'm going to ask you all to do something today. Stop. Stop. You're not helping any of us if you're sharing information you haven't vetted. Do not trust what you're reading. Not even from me. Check the source. I will always say, according to regulatory filing, according to earnings, according to this statement here from this CEO at this show, provide the source. So here's an example. Comcast quote for Peacock, NFL wildcard game was the biggest live streamed event in U.S. history. And yet then an analyst, I'm not going to call them out by name, who a lot of you read and recirculate, look what they said. The NFL wildcard game was the most streamed live event in history. They purposely removed the word U.S. Why? Because now they can make a big issue of it on LinkedIn. They're falsifying the information. Netflix said their ad tier is 23 million global monthly active users. Monthly active users and million subscribers are not the same thing. This is happening every single day in our industry. And if you think it's only happening with individual analysts or whatnot, Wall Street Journal, last quote, YouTube, TV, Fubo, and others, which have about 18 million subscribers combined. You just said that as a fact. It's not. It's an estimate. They didn't provide a source. They didn't provide where they got it from. I reached out to them. They said, this information comes from a third-party analyst. It doesn't say that in your quote. And you didn't say it's estimated. You stated it as a fact. So what does everybody do? They pick up with that. This isn't good. We can't have this. eMarketer said that its main pay TV competitor, referencing YouTube, Hulu plus Live TV, has 11.4 million subs. It's not even close. It's less than 5 million. It's public. I don't get it, personally. I don't get it. I don't get how this is so wrong. It's laziness. It's a lack of attention to detail. So please, help the industry out. Do not share things you haven't vetted. Don't just trust the person because you're like, oh, they're an analyst. They know what they're doing. Don't. So what should we be discussing? Fast. There's far too much fast hype out there. Fast growth, fast this, fast that. Popularity without productivity, it's not a business model. There are companies who can make an investment in fast and wait for it to pay off for 10 years from now. Sure. How many companies can do that in the market? Apple, Google, Microsoft, right? There's only a handful of them. Vizio is the only company who gives out any information when it comes to the amount of advertising revenue they get from their fast channels. They disclose it every quarter in their regulatory filing. There's no other company that provides any financial information around fast. Pluto, Tubi, Zumo, none of them. Every once in a while you'll get a cryptic, maybe something like, well, we'll hit profitability at the end of this year, probably something. Right? Nothing that we can actually use. And with Vizio potentially getting acquired by Walmart, chances are we'll probably start losing these numbers from Vizio. Fast is growing. Yeah, we know that. Thanks. There's a lot of channels. Yeah, we know that. It's content overload. We know that. So where's Fast actually making money? No one will say. No one will talk about it. Right? That's a problem. So we have to really talk about the business side of this. Nielsen. I gave Nielsen an opportunity to come to the show for free and talk to me for 30 minutes about their methodology. They declined. Now, why is this a problem? Everyone you can think of is using Nielsen data, including Amazon, for Thursday Night Football. Here's what none of us know. When you go to watch Thursday Night Football, when you go to Amazon.com's homepage on the night of Thursday Night Football, even if you don't watch it, even if you're not a subscriber to Prime, it's autoplaying. When it's autoplaying on the homepage, am I a viewer? I don't know. What if I don't click on it and engage with it? What if I buy a product and I leave the page in 10 seconds? At any time was I counted as a viewer? We don't know. We have no idea. And yet this data is being thrown around every single day compared to TV broadcast viewership data, of which there's a standard, of which we know what the methodology is. So we don't truly know what is taking place from a viewership and engagement standpoint. What is the average viewing time of Thursday Night Football for streaming? Oh, it's not disclosed. So we talk about the word engagement as an industry. We don't have any measure of that. The vast majority of every live event we are doing in the internet, we are getting something like X million number of AMA, average minute audience. That's all we get. That's not really helpful. So the companies who are providing this data are purposely cloaking it. Because even when I talk to advertisers, even some advertisers for Thursday Night Football, do you guys know what a viewer is? No, not really. Now the sad thing is, unfortunately, the advertisers are the problem here because they're not pushing back. If they were pushing back, they'd be forced to get the data that they need. But if you look through the program over the next 2 days, we don't have any ad tech companies here, what I would consider ad tech. Some are offering ad service, but no ad platforms, right? No DSPs, right? None of them are here. Right? That tells you something. Not just here. I look at other conferences, I don't see them there either. That's a big problem in our industry. Super Bowl, no one talked about this afterwards. No DAI. Super Bowl ads were burned in. There was no dynamic ad insertion. What's going on? We've been talking about DAI as an industry for 15 years. It's supposed to do targeting. It's supposed to do local advertising. It's supposed to be higher CPM. You're supposed to get more monetization. What happened? Wasn't used. Wasn't used Super Bowl. Wasn't used for the wild card games. The largest events where you need the traffic to make the money from ads, we're not doing it. Yet no one in the industry talked about that afterwards. I thought that was really interesting. All right. So those are the things we have to look at as an industry where we're running around talking about how great advertising is. And here's an opportunity to use it, and we didn't. And we continue not to. Well, there's reasons for that, right? In terms of how it scales or works or doesn't work. That is what we should really be talking about in the industry. Excuse me. Vendors, please stop using bogus marketing numbers, market sizing numbers. Just stop with that. It's not helping you. It doesn't give you any credibility. You know, I was looking at all the press releases coming out over the last week for NAB. Wowza said the global enterprise video market today is $106 billion. $106 billion for global enterprise video? If you add up the revenue of all the public companies tied to that and add in all the private ones, we're at maybe just over $1 billion. You know the companies, you can look them up. 106 billion? It's not even close. What was interesting was when Vimeo went public, their regulatory filing said the market opportunity for enterprise video was somewhere in the $20 billion range. Brightcove, when they did a report, had it at 2.5 billion. But Brightcove actually broke out the report of how they defined enterprise, what was media and entertainment, right? It was done properly. But think about it, we've got 2.5, we've got 20, we've got 106. Now, the company that put out the report, Grand View Research, I've never heard of them, but they also put out reports on frozen foods and paint coatings. Right? This is who a vendor is trusting with data in our industry. Right? It doesn't help. It really doesn't help. The industry is using data from Antenna and others simply because nothing exists in the market. So everyone in the industry is using Antenna's churn data right now. Everybody. It's not accurate. How do I know that? Because I talk to every OTT provider you can think of who talks to me off the record of what their churn is. And they're like, yeah, it's not even in the ballpark. I have the numbers. I can't give them out. But people are using it because there's a void in the market. Because the OTT, the D2C companies themselves don't put out the numbers. So we don't know what they are. So as a result, everyone uses Antenna. But you have to realize just because we're using a third party does not make it accurate. It's really important to understand that. So what can you do? How do you stay educated? Know the subs, ARPU, P&L, engagement. I've done all the work for you in LinkedIn. Every single quarter for every public company, I track about 42 public companies in our space. I read through the regulatory filings, listen to the calls, and I give a quick, short synopsis of the numbers and what you need to know. Just follow me on LinkedIn. That's all you need to do. Read more focused news. If a post starts off with a high-level content, like according to Nielsen or ComScore, video is growing, skip it. You know right away it's not going to be valuable. Right? Quality over quantity is key. You only have so much time in the day to read news. If you don't know what Feedly is, Feedly Pro, get a Feedly Pro account. Feedly allows you to suck in via RSS everything to read news all in one place. I can scan 2,000 headlines a day in minutes. Pulls in newsletters, pulls in hashtags, pulls in Google News alerts, pulls in things from PR Newswire, set it up. Take a couple hours to set it up the way you need to. You can track everything in Feedly, one dashboard. I never have to visit a website. It's very important. I'm going to go through Feedly at the class tomorrow. For those of you in terms of advancing your career, I see a lot about executive coaching and whatnot. It's not what you need, but we'll talk about that in the class tomorrow. Think about your words. Words that end in ly, probably, likely, usually, no concrete definition. Think about that when you write and communicate as well, with your customers, with your clients, with each other. I'm going to go through that in the class tomorrow. Simplify. Less is more. Right? That is key. Also be confident. Be confident in what you know. Right? Confidence is key. It comes from preparation, a sense of belonging. Right? You have to build it. Right? Trust is key. Trust with each other, the way you work as a team. Your customers, your clients. So I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow as well, in terms of how to communicate, how to get your point across. When you're going to sell a product, right, you want to use the words that people are in their mind are using to think about the product. You have to know who your audience is. You have to understand who the customer is. You have to start with the customer first. You are my customer. I start with you. What experience do I want you to have here? You have to start with your customer first. Many vendors still aren't doing that. Well, we want you to buy it the way we have it packaged. Wrong. You're not listening to the customer. So customer is super important. So I'm going to have Phil up here in just a moment. Again, that's my number. Call at any time. I prefer for everyone to not call me at 2 o'clock in the morning just to test the theory that I answer it 24 hours a day. But I do. I don't get to go to any of the parties or events. I'm back in the room by 8 o'clock every night. So I'm going to take a minute to talk about one other thing, which worked out really well the last 2 years that I mentioned this, and because so many of you are new, even more important. So I've been very fortunate over the last 30 years almost to be in the stream media industry. It's taken very good care of me, and I try and take care of it as well. I feel a sense of responsibility to help the industry grow. That's why I do this. But there's something even more important to me than this, right? Business has its place in anyone's life for what you learn and what you do. Over the last 6 years, I've had an enormous, privileged opportunity to be embedded with U.S. Special Forces. These are guys called Green Berets. I'm former military, Air Force from a long time ago. I'm old, so it's from a long time ago. But over the last 6 years, I've been embedded with them at a very unique level, spending 100 days a year on the road, training them, being at their unique locations, their training pipelines, being in a lot of places I never thought I would be, getting to see a lot of unique things. And it all started during Afghanistan when a lot of them were getting hurt and coming into hospitals is where I first met them. But over the years, I realized one of the biggest things that they need are jobs. So Special Forces are referred to as Army Green Berets. That's what Special Forces means. One set of soldiers in the Army, they're called Green Berets. And nobody knows who they are because they're quiet professionals. So as a result, when they're going to get out, they can't get jobs because nobody knows what they do. And those that think they know what they do think they just run around chasing bad guys all day, right? Which is actually not what they spend most of their time doing. So 5 years ago, I started embedding them at the show. I started to bring them with me. They started shadowing me, coming to all the meetings I do, dinners at night and whatnot. And over the years, been very successful placing them inside companies. It's free to the company. It's free to them. So Disney's taken 4 soldiers over the last couple of years inside DSS, BAMTech, and the Disney streaming services. 2 years ago at this show, Jeff Schick at Oracle met one at dinner. He hired one. Eric Black, when he was at NBC Sports, nicely took one as well. Bob Lyons, who recently left CEO of Edgio, he hired one from last year. Josh Shaw at Allure Securities hired 3 in the last 18 months. So the goal of having them here, not only are they the best in terms of operations and logistics of making this all work for me, but it's to introduce them to the business world, how we think, how we communicate. right? The Army doesn't think about productivity and profitability. They're not a business. So, the government doesn't necessarily spend money and do things the same way we do because they still survive. So they're learning about the business world. So they're here today. They have these unique badges on that I had made for them. Right? There's 6 or 7 of them with me. So what makes them unique? They are the most highly trained individuals in the world with skill sets that you can practically apply in your business immediately. Complex problem solving, situational awareness, empathy for their peers. They communicate with clarity, consistency, and candor. They complete projects on time and on budget. They make decisions off of data, and they are the best natural leaders. So at any time during the show, stop and talk to them. Ask them what they do. The vast majority of the time they are spending, they're teaching others. They're called force multipliers. They're learning languages. All of them speak Russian, Mandarin, languages that are super hard. They are consuming and absorbing information all day long. This is what they do. And all they want to do when they get out is be part of a team. That's all they're looking to do. So if you're looking to hire some of the best individuals, they come out with PMP, Agile, Jira. So a lot of them do project management, program management, cybersecurity. Sometimes do sales as well. They have very unique backgrounds as far as security clearances. Talk to anyone who I mentioned by name. They'll tell you they're the best employees that they've ever hired. So if you want to meet any of them at any time, stop me. I'll be happy to make an introduction. Afterwards, if you want to connect with me, call me. I'll be happy. I always have guys in my pipeline. Last year, I trained up about 1,300 soldiers, Special Forces soldiers, in person around the country. So I constantly have guys in my pipeline. Over the years, many have lived with me at my house for 4 to 6 months at a time. I love them. This is what matters to me more than anything else. So if you're hiring, I'd love to talk to you at any time.